Welcome to Scrappy Sunday. My name is Sharon Rogers and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine. And every Sunday at around 7 p.m. I like to bring you some projects made with one of Stampin' Up's scrapbooking workshop kits. Now the one that I've been using and focusing on this month has been the Make a Memory Scrapbooking Kit. It's part of the Kids collection. And I made, over the last 3 weeks, I made 3 two-page spreads of my trip to St. Vincent in the Caribbean. And now I'm playing with some of the leftovers. And so that's what I typically do on the 4th Sunday of the month is I show you what you can do after you've created 3 two-page layouts. With this Kids collection item, there are lots of extras. I could certainly keep doing some scrapbook pages, but I'm going to stick to my normal routine and just do some alternate ideas. I'm going to do a card and I'm going to do a cute little bag box, something like that. So let's get started. Some of the little doodads that we have left here is this big floral piece. We've got some strawberries, which it's almost strawberry season. I guess it is strawberry season, so we could use those. I was thinking that these lemon bits would be great for just a bright, sunny card, or even a when life gives you lemons kind of card. You could make that kind of statement on the front of the card. Which shall we do? I think we're going to go with the lemons. We have all sorts of these memory and more sized cards. I thought this green one would look great with the lemons, but I need to trim this down because I want it to be the size of a card front. So this is 4 by 6, so I need it to be 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to cut it to 4 by 5 1/4. And this is going to just be the layer for the front of the card. And if I decide where I want these guys to go, probably something like that. Or maybe I want to put it this way. Let's see. I did notice that one of the stickers that we have left is this beautiful bright hello, and that would work perfectly at the bottom of this card. I'm going to get the middles out here. There we go. It's already sticky. We're just going to put that right. Oop, here's another little piece. Needs to come out. Okay, very sticky. Let's see if we can get that centered. And I think I want the lighter side. Nope, I think I want it just like this. I want the darker side over on the left. And I'm going to put these up on dimensionals in just a minute, but we're going to put hello across the bottom. Hello. Now we're going to arrange our lemons. So you just need to decide how we want them. And do I want it like this? I think I want it something like that. Something just like that. That'd be great. So we'll put the big lemon just directly on the card base. Like that. And then I think we will pop this up on dimensionals, which I have right over here off to the side. Go. there. And then I think we want this one to be up as well. There we go. So that is our card front. We just need to put this on a base. Let's see which one we want to do. Whether we want to do Daffodil Delight, Lemon Lolly, or Basic White. All right, well, I think I'm gonna do the Daffodil Delight just because it is the same tone as the lemons. And it is a very in-your-face cheery color. So we'll cut a regular size card base here. Probably would have been fun to do a fun fold, but we didn't. And by we, I mean I didn't. So there we have just our card. Just glue this down. So you can see that the leftovers from a scrapbook kit don't have to go to waste. This would have made a fun little scrapbook page too, but you can certainly make some cards out of the leftovers quite easily. And then I will put a piece of Basic White on the inside. Here's my Basic White piece, and instead of just plain Basic White here, I noticed that I do have this nice little Daffodil Delight stripe. That would go well. We also have this nice striped cardstock that we could just trim off and put a little, yeah, let's do that instead. It'll be a whole lot easier to trim. And then we can still have this for either belly band wraps or scrapbook pages, whatever. We can save that. And we'll just take this and we'll cut off, say, let's go with, or what we could have done is we could have just cut a smaller piece. Yeah, let's do that. Let's cut this down a little bit smaller. So let's make this 3 inches by 4.5. And 3 inches by 4.25. And we'll make this one 4 by 5.25. That'll give us a 1/2 inch border all the way around for this Basic White piece. And you can write your little note right in there. Whether it's happy birthday or you're just sending a note to a friend to cheer them up. Or again, when life gives you lemons, make lemonades. And I think what would go nicely here, oh, we have these kind of gems that are kind of yellow and green. They're the holographic resin dots. I believe these are an online exclusive. Let's see if I can get into them. They slide around. I don't know if I've actually even played with these yet. Yeah, I must have used a couple of them anyway. So we'll just, let's go ahead and grab a couple. So it's almost like these are drops of lemonade. There's that large one there, and another one. We have a little small one right up here. Oh yeah, that looks great. Quick and easy card made with leftovers from our kit. one of the designer series paper sheets that I had left over was this beautiful petal pink and white striped pattern. I'm going to take this and we're going to make a box out of it because this is it's a really nice weight for a box. It's heavier than regular designer series paper, so it'll make a great little box. And we need to cut this down first to 9.5 by 8 inches. So 9.5. And our box, if you have a directional pattern, now obviously this is not a directional pattern, but you would want this first measurement where I'm making it 9.5, you would want that to look right side up. And then everything else will work out okay. Although, you know what, I happen to think you're going to be folding over a flap and that would be upside down. Always best to use non-directional paper if, you know, if you can make that happen. So 9.5 by 8 inches. Now we're going to score this on the 9.5 side. We're going to score it at 3 inches. 4.5, 7.5, and 9. Okay, and then I need to make some partial scores. So the first thing I'm going to do though, before I do that, let's go ahead and turn it, and we're going to score at 1.5, and 6.5. And then what we want to do is see there's some, let me fold on this and maybe you can see it a little bit better. Let's go ahead, let me take my paper trimmer out for just a moment. And I'm going to fold and burnish on those score lines that we just made here. Burnishing is always a great idea when you're making boxes, because it helps them be nice and square and look very professionally made. Okay, so I've now folded on everything, and this over here, this little tab, we can go ahead and trim this off. And I miter this edge a little bit. I just angle cut that in. We're going to do the same thing on the top. So this tab is how we're going to keep it closed. Okay. Now, it doesn't really matter which is the top and the bottom here. I'm going to make this the bottom. And so when we fold this over, you can see how the box is going to start forming. And I like to have this part in the back. So this will be the front. So if I put my fingers on the front, right here, this piece, this is going to be the front. And believe it or not, I want to get rid of this piece right here. I want to keep this one. This is going to be the flap that folds over. This will be the diagram that is included in the downloadable PDF tutorial in my Monday email. I'll have good written directions to show you when you should best do this. But I would make all the score lines first before you really start cutting. It's just easier keeping everything perfectly straight. And I'm going to cut off everything else on the top there. All right, so I'm just keeping the flap at the top that comes over the top. And if you have a corner rounder, a great way, you can just use a corner rounder, or you can make it a little interesting and just snip off a 45-degree angle. And then you have, it just looks, a little finished that way. So now what we're going to do is on the bottom, we're going to cut up just to that first score line. Now I want my box to be able to close nicely, so I need to make some gussets on the side. And that's going to be in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to score down here. Now this is 5 inches tall. So I'm going to score down about, I guess I'll stop about 1.5 inches up here. So that's 3 inches from that side. So let's go ahead and bring in our paper trimmer. I'll show you what I mean. I want to have this edge right in here, right to the bottom. And we're going to score up at 1.5 inches. So 1.5. Hold on, let me think about this for a second, because I've already made it a little bit more difficult. So 3 inches in from this side, and then halfway in this one. So this was 1.5 inches wide. So that means 3/4 is halfway. So 3 3/4. If I line this up at 3 3/4, that's going to allow me to score. And I only want to score up to the 5-inch mark. Okay. And I'm going to move this over some more. And I have another 3/4 and another 3/4 and 3. So that's another 4.5 inches. So 3 3/4 plus 4.5 is 8 1/4. Let's put it there and see if that's true. Oh yes, look at that. Puts it right there in the middle there. All right. And I'm going to go up to the 5 again. You might want to score first before you cut anything, because then you'll have this nice long edge around here, keeping this nice and straight. This ruler does extend and has the edge, which is nice. So it is straight anyway. It might just be easier if before you cut things off, you do this. And hopefully I'll remember to put that in the instructions as you're going along. All right. So now I'm going to take my tab here and I'm going to add some glue. You can use some tear and tape. I like the glue. And if you fold over that first tab and then fold over here, it should be perfectly lined up. Okay, we'll just let that set up for just a second. And then we're going to tuck the sides. Now remember, this flap is folding over the top here. And so this is going to be the front. So that means that's the one I want to fold over last. I'm just going to tuck those other ones in and add some adhesive there. If you want to help stick it down, just rub something along the bottom there. Okay, and then you might have seen me do it before, but I'm just pinching on that score line, and that does that. Now, if you wanted to, you could have scored from the bottom of this score line that we had here. You could have made some diagonal score lines to the corners. I don't think it's really necessary, but you certainly could. And so now we have this cute little box. We could hold that closed with a glue dot, not a glue dot, a Velcro dot. I had this beautiful little flower left over, so I thought that would look nicely on the front of that. And I'm gonna pop that up on dimensionals because that would look nice too. Let's see if I can find some full-size dimensionals. I've got lots of bitty ones. All right, let's give this some nice dimension here. Okay, and I want to make sure that it stays underneath that flap, which will look just like that. It barely comes in there. So you could, you know what I might do is I might just trim this flap a little bit. I thought I had measured correctly before, but apparently I didn't. I'm gonna just trim that flap a little bit. And then I'm going to angle cut that again. There we go. And we have a beautiful little box. And look at those stripes line up nicely. You could also put a ribbon in here if you wanted to. You could poke a hole and tie some ribbon. Let's see if we can do that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, let me bring this in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where I want that. And that's about center. I'm just going to poke that through, and I'm poking it enough so that it goes through this first layer here. It doesn't go through the back, just the first layer. Now I need a little bit larger hole for the ribbon that I'm going to use, which I think I'm going to use this beautiful white woven ribbon. I might be able to get that through there because I've poked a fairly good size hole there. So let's bring in our ribbon. All right, I'm going to cut a length, and I'm not sure. Oh, well, I guess it's going to be this length because I'm at the end of my roll. Haha. This will be long enough. I know that for sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double it up. Frayed that end. So let's cut that off. Okay, so I'm going to double it up, and I'm going to poke this through that opening. And if you want to, you know, if you take a stylus, so not the sharp pokey part of the, take your pick tool, but if you take your stylus, you can usually poke that through pretty easily and then grab it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just tie a little bit of a knot just in the very end. Just in the very, very end. That's just going to keep it from coming back through. Okay. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to poke it through this other hole. And it might be easier if you had a slightly larger hole here, but this actually works pretty well. And if you had organdy or something thinner than that, that would work even better. Okay, so now we have this, and we can just tie, well, we don't even have to do that. You can just go ahead and tie the little bow part. And there we have a nice little bow right on the top. Mine's a little twisted. I gotta do it again because it's twisted. I can't twist it. That would not be right. All right. So there we have that, we have that, and we have a nice little bow holding that closed. And then the person can get into it pretty easily. Now I do recommend filling it before you tie your bow and trim your ends. Or at least before you trim your ends. There we go. And if we add just a few little, how about add some of these iridescent pearl basics. I don't even know if these are still current. I think they are. Just dress it up a little bit. Whoops. I didn't actually grab one. I don't like that one there. I think I want it there. All right, there we go. Want to add a little sentiment? You can, or name, but that's our cute little box, and it's really pretty sturdy. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed these two projects. I could make so many more because there are so many leftovers from this kit. I could do more scrapbook pages, I could do more boxes, I could do many more cards. I have lots of leftovers still. However, I'm going to maintain the rhythm of the Scrappy Sunday, and that is the first 3 Sundays are devoted to scrapbook pages, and the 4th Sunday is devoted to something alternative like cards and or bags and boxes. Next Sunday is a 5th Sunday, and it happens to be my first day of my annual 4th of July camping trip. So I will not be bringing you a video because I know that between now and then I do not have the time to create another video. So I'm going to take this one off. We'll call it a holiday, and I will see you back in a couple weeks for Scrappy Sunday. If you want the measurements for this particular project, the box that I made tonight, the box or bag, whatever way you want to refer to it, that will be in tomorrow morning's email. So every Monday I send out an email. So if you're not on my email list, go ahead and subscribe. The link is in the description of this video. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you for Tune In Tuesday on my YouTube channel at 7 p.m.